The Immortal Game by Aesthetic B. Last chapter. The end. Guys, do we really have to do the epilogue? I mean, I know I said I would do every single chapter of the story, but th- you saw the previous chapter. It wrapped everything up so nicely. We don't really need to go over all this points again, do we? I guess we should. The end. It was nearing midday by the time the sun's rays reached over Mount Avalon and onto the ruins of Canterlot in full. Outside the veils of the mountain's shadow, the city appeared as much as it had for the past 4 weeks, which was to say that the city looked like it had been completely destroyed. The 1- and 2-story buildings of Outer Canterlot were now the tallest objects apart from Avalon itself, but even they had been rendered inhospitable by the king's unyielding storm. Roofs had been stripped bare, doors and windows shattered, giving the gale force winds free leave to scour each building of its insides. The cobbled streets had been churned and plowed, their stones hurled about like autumn leaves. The inner city was worse. Here, the tall and proud towers of Canterlot failed totally. Now they gave the impression of dashed-in sand castles that had been left to the waves. Where buildings ended and streets began was hard to say, with storm and rubble both to contend with, the narrower paths that wound throughout lost forever. Even the mountain itself had broken in the final battle. The thunderous rock slide had been rent free from Avalon's western face, could be distinguished from the castle's Canterlot's pulverized remains only by the shade of stone. But all was not exactly as it had been 4 weeks ago, on the morning after Titan's fall. Thin paths had been carved through the rubble that where it was least dense, each leading to its own separate hole, an entrance through the Canterlot labyrinth. From high above, the sunlight revealed figures, tiny specks, crawling through the paths and over rubble like ants tending to their colony. Some carried water from the newly diverted falls, others carried food that had been brought in from all over Equestria, via the hastily repaired railway lines. The vast majority were on cleanup duty, however, spent their time moving the rubble inside the city confines, so it was outside the city confines. There, a team of architects and unicorn engineers would reshape it till it was worthy enough to build with, making bricks and mortar out of nothing but dust and debris. Those without homes had been fully refused in the labyrinth only a day ago, and now the work could begin in earnest. Somewhere, the town of Vale's like, guys, can we borrow those people, please? Glinda's trying her best to fix up the city, but she ain't doing a good job. High up on the mountain's edge stood two figures. One had once been a god. The other had once been a pony. I wanted to show you this, so I said. As what? Terra practically spat. A display of your divine power. I see ruined cities before, child. This does not impress or frighten me. Twilight frowned. You misunderstand me, she said, looking out over the ruins. I grew up in Canterlot. Over there, she pointed, is where I went to magic kindergarten. My house was there. I used to eat donuts right across that plaza over there. She pointed to the new sections of ruin as she spoke, each indistinguishable from the last. The tower I lived in under Celestia. The place I go by Horsus. She made a sort of futile, gasping gesture, let out her breath. It's all gone, she said at last. You're right, Terra said. I don't understand. Are you looking for sympathy? From me? The thing is, once upon a time I would never been able to imagine seeing Canterlot like this. The thoughts would have just failed me. I was naive and soft, and my mind wouldn't have been able to comprehend such a loss. Now it's real, and I see it every day. It's not just Canterlot either. I have experiences, memories that, well, you would know, wouldn't you? You created the sliver in the first place. And did its job admirably, Terra said. What's your point? My point is, I don't believe things can go back to the way they were. Twilight said. They just, I can't look at this every day and delude myself, don't you see? They can't, and it, here her voice cracked a little, breaks my heart to know I'll never go home again. Terra opened her mouth to say something, then shook her head to clear her thoughts. Tragic, she said dryly. And I feel despair. Twilight said. Every time I think about it, it's like I can't get enough air. And all that's left for me now is to slowly suffocate each day. Each breath leaves me with less and less. Because I know that everything that has happened is immutable. The dead will always be dead. I will always have been a general and a murderer. The Celestia will have always lied to me. And no proud truth from now can change that. But every day, I come up here and it's like a breath of fresh air. Every day the ruins disappear just a little. We get more food and water, more infrastructure. We take an infamous little step towards a city that isn't Candlelight at all, to Equestria that shines on despite the shadow of the past. It gives me what I need to go through tomorrow. Well then, Terra said icily, I'm so happy for you. By now, you know exactly why we're here, Twilight said. You have to see what I'm trying to tell you. I see a little girl playing God, Terra said. I don't expect you to change with a single conversation, Terra. I'm not trying to give you an epiphany and have you fall to the ground in tears or beg for forgiveness. But I know that some part of you is listening. I just want to plant a seed and let time do what it does. I believe no matter how long it takes, everything can be fixed. Oh, Terra said, I need fixing, do I? And why do you care exactly? I thought Fluttershy's your pet, not yours. I am responsible in part for the well-being of every pony now, Twilight said. You are a part of ponykind. I've had enough destruction and war the last several lifetimes. All I want to do now is build. Whatever hatred I have for you feels just light, so easily brushed aside. He'll come back, Terra said. He'll always come back. You forget your hatred now, because I'm small and helpless, but you'll come face to face with my deeds again. The ponies I killed, the families I destroyed, then loathing will come to you like a familiar lover. You'll embrace the hide the emptiness you'll feel at knowing that such horrors could ever be allowed to occur. Twilight looked at Terra curiously. But you want what I know? Terra asked her. Your little ponies now, isn't that right? A tiny smile graced Twilight's face. We'll see, she said. We will. Now if you're done with your little heart-to-heart, I'd like you to leave me alone again. Twilight nodded slowly. And where would you like to be left alone? And we're going to need paint, Pinkie cried, and flags, and bunting, and 24,000 nails, and... Whoa there, Pie! Applejack said, leaning over a kitchen table to frown at the blueprint before them. We need to dig the hole first. Oh, Twilight could do that the next time she's in town, Pinkie said. We need to get ready for when that's done. We'll need concrete and insulation. Pinkie continued to list the things off from under her hard hat. She wore the hard hat everywhere now. Pinkie Pie in a hard hat is an adorable sight. When is the next time Twilight will be around? Applejack asked, leaning against the table. 1600, Pinkie Pie said with a matter-of-fact nod. She comes by every day at 8, 12, and 16. Have you guys noticed? Rarity watched the exchange, distracted when it seemed appropriate. Since when did Pinkie Pie plan large-scale construction projects? Since almost every building between Everfree and Avalon was a heap of rubble. At least her house had been demolished before it went out of style. Rarity smiled at the thought. She had always been a trendsetter. You okay, Rares? Rarity looked up to find them both staring at her. Oh, of course I'm okay, DS. I just, You know, we had a really cute Raritas moment back there. Can we follow up on that? Rarely, Applejack said. This is your house we're building. You better say a word. Well, Rarity leaned over the table and looked at the blueprint. You're both doing such a marvelous job, Iron. She sighed. I don't know. It doesn't feel right, somehow. Not right, Applejack asked. It's exactly the same as your old house. Exactly, Rarity said, looking up at the mayor. I feel like maybe now things should change. What do you think? Applejack seemed to consider this for a moment, then shrugged. It's your house, she said. What did you have in mind? Rarity opened her mouth to answer, but she never got the sounds. She was interrupted by the sound of a kitchen door clattering shut behind them. Both turned to the source of the noise. A beaten old screen door that led to the porch, now rattling its frame. Rarity's heart stopped. Apple Bloom looked exhausted, and had probably stayed awake the entire train ride over. She seemed older, but whether it was because she had actually changed, or she wasn't wearing a bow, Rarity couldn't have said. Sleebell did look older, but whether it was by a natural month of adolescence, or because of something else, Rarity didn't know. She was absentmindedly wiping her hose on the mat as she came in. How ridiculous. Scootaloo apparently is not available. Applejack reacted first. Rarity couldn't tell if the wail that escaped her lips was intended to sound like her sister's name or not. In a moment, she scooped up Apple Bloom and pulled her close. In a moment, Rarity was holding Sweetie Belle, choking on sentences that probably wouldn't have made sense even if she could say them. She was hyperventilating, smelling her sister's mane, kissing her forehead. Unnoticed, but not bothered by the fact, PewDiePie stood by the kitchen table and watched the reunion. She gave a soft smile when she saw Macintosh slowly coming up the hill with Granny Smith through the sink window. Her smile widened. "Applejack," she whispered. "Verity, Sweet Belle, Apple Bloom." Scootaloo! 5 minutes later, Verity's boundless love for Sweet Belle had taken a turn for the sisterly. "Did Twilight really try to kill you?" Sweet Belle asked in her high voice. "Are you a knight?" Verity was seated at the kitchen table again, holding Sweetie's hooves as she watched Applejack speak with her family for the first time in months. Sweetie's question hit her. She was about to say she was in fact a knight commander. That was important. But Sweetie launched into another question right away. "Do you really have a magic sword? Did you really slay a dragon?" Verity was trying to approach the subject delicately. "The thing is, did your dragon come back to life? Where did the house go?" Across the room, Verity could barely make out her name being mentioned. Applejack gestured toward her grandmother, smiling. Granny Smith looked at her smile too. "Am I adopted? Are you adopted?" Verity smiled back at Applejack, basking in the perfection of the moment. Then Sweetie's question hit her. "Well," she said, "you see, we need this hawk, Sweetie Belle." In a small circle of young valley oaks, Tara regarded her predator. It was an ever-free wisp, but taken the form of a buyer. They were familiar creatures, even in this new millennia. It, or as Tara was becoming certain, he, could forage for food. But that didn't mean he wouldn't seize the chance to get some fresh meat. The wisp was translucent, but had a defense shape. In bear form, it could be mistaken for a miniature Ursa. Provided the observer knew nothing of either wisps or Ursas. The eyes were luminous and glowing under two transparent eyelids. And the wisp would never have to open. Beyond that, it looked like a bear-shaped container with blue mist. "Come on!" Tara almost growled the words as they circled another. Left hooves over right, back legs lead. Keep 3 hooves on the ground at all times. This bear moved opposite her, eyeing her. He was probably thrown off by the fact she wasn't running away. No doubt his primitive mind would expect her to flee, given she was a third of its size. "Come on," she said under her breath. "Come and get some pony flesh. It's nice and sweet." She grinned at the wary wisp. "I know." It was only a half lie. Pony flesh wasn't all that. This one, and Tara was drawn back to the present. She'd been foolish herself, letting herself get distracted like that. This was a life or death situation now. It wasn't wise to let her mind wander, even if centuries of torment had taught her not to focus. The wisp came at her, and Tara was liquid. It wasn't enough to move like a pony. Ponies were too smart, too civilized to be as naturally vicious as a real animal. But animals were too short-sighted and cared only for food. They never had that grace that a true master of combat demanded. So Tara moved with validity to defy both. The kind of grace she had taken in her own, inspired by each of them. Luna had it. It was what made her so much stronger than Celestia when he had been growing up. She was probably more than Celestia's match now as well. But again, Tara was getting distracted. She looked to the side of the bear wisp, landing and pivoting along her front hooves to bucket with her back legs. Then it moved past her. Then she spun. The wisp experienced a moment of confusion when it found its prey had moved, but kicking in the back hadn't done a thing. It spun, swiping a claw at her face. Tara ducked under its paw and struck on its leg on the nerve that ran along its joint, enwrapping it. The wisp howled and pushed forward on 3 legs, intending to crush her with pure force. It was a simple matter to spring off its temporary disabled leg, wrap her forelegs around its neck, and flip onto its back. She placed the hoof on the crux of her other elbow, pulling its head back into a chokehold. The wisp shook its head frantically, obviously confused by the fact that Tara had brought Kung Fu to a bear fight. Nothing else happened as Tara's forelegs tightened around muscles that were as hard as rock. Too hard for her mundane pony strength to overcome. "Calamity!" Tara cursed. The chokehold was pretty much her only play. With a roar, the wisp reared back and raked a claw along her side, scoring a shallow cut before Tara threw herself away. She landed in the dirt a couple of feet from the wisp, immediately flying to her hose to face the incoming wisp. She couldn't pummel it to death with her hose, or tear its throat out with her teeth, or trample it, obviously. With tints of disappointment, Tara realized that she couldn't kill this magic bear. A feral cry tore its way from her mouth, the loud feline undulation of a jaguar. The wisp rose. It saw a pony, but it heard a jaguar. Hopefully it sensed a run. Just to be sure, she screamed the jaguar cry again. Wisp ran, crossing to the bushes and fading into the hearing, as Tara breathed a sigh of relief.
Why did it run?
Fluttershy asked. Tara wasn't surprised at all to hear her voice. She probably watched the whole exchange. Fluttershy heard her laugh about eating pony flesh. Tara shook the from her head. Why would she care if Fluttershy heard her or not? Fluttershy stepped in a tiny clearing, wearing only her crown of thorns. Tara's crown. But again, Tara shook the unwelcome thoughts away. She was having too many of them. It ran because it's programmed to fear the bladed jaguar.
But the Everfree Forest has no jaguars,
Fluttershy said. Tara shrugged. Must have all died. Not surprised, really. That balance was a tricky one. Any number of things could have killed them off. But yes, we used to have jaguars. Big things. She said, stretching her hooves out for emphasis. Fur was actually tiny metal teeth as thin and long as slivers. Wouldn't hesitate to eat a wisp.
Oh,
Fluttershy said.
Well, are you okay?
She looked at the cut running along Tara's side, and Ashley had the decency to appear concerned. Fine, Tara said. Didn't hit anything important, and I've already stopped bleeding. See? First I bit her lip as Tara bared her flank.
Doesn't it hurt?
Tara asked. Hurt? Of course it hurts. It hurts and it's fascinating. Real pain. Natural pain. The kind that doesn't come at the end of a spell or the force of an avalanche. I know your mind isn't physically capable of conferring to you, child, but having my own flesh torn away is interesting.
But you could have died.
Tara barked out a laugh. I have to know my own limits. And if I die, it would be my own fault. Twilight made it very clear that I'm allowed to kill myself, not just you. Tara gave her a wretched look of pity she used to so often.
I'm going home, if you like to come.
She turned and began to walk away, ducking under some branches and out of the clearing. Tara followed. She decided early on she wasn't going to hinder and refuse Fluttershy every chance she got. That was what children did. While they were walking under the taller trees, with little brush to struggle through, Fluttershy said,
I don't think you'd killed me.
Tara let out a snort to Sisson. Even if I didn't hate you, this forest will only have one princess. Kill you to prove I'm the best? That's the way we do things here.
Just like Equestria can only have one king.
The calm way Fluttershy spoke infuriated Tara, as always. Nothing like that! Fluttershy watched quietly for a time. Tara watched her crown. A flower bloomed just above her brow and broke apart. Petals fluttering to the ground in her wake.
I don't think you hate me,
Fluttershy said. Of course I hate you, Tara said. You took everything from me. Fluttershy acknowledged this with a serene tilt of her head.
Everything you had made you suffer.
Tara swallowed. She was right about some things, but not everything. Godhood, she said, biting each syllable of the word. You crippled me. Do you know what it's like to be bound to the earth by my own weight? You think I want this mockery of a crown? I'm a prisoner in this forest, not a princess. I used to be queen of the world! Fluttershy didn't answer her immediately, which infuriated Tara more. When she did speak, her answer was short.
You were more powerless as queen of the world than you are now,
she said simply. Tara didn't attack Fluttershy. She was in control. I hate you, she said instead.
You don't have to.
I do. You think I'm misguided, and that's why I hate you. But you're wrong. You're just some kid who thinks he's beyond reproach. You think you're the greatest good in this world, which is why you have your friends do all your evil for you. Admittedly, it wasn't Tara's best, but after so many days of having this conversation with Fluttershy, she was running out of material. Fluttershy had to have a weakness, but Tara couldn't find it. It wasn't her lack of trying.
You're scared,
Fluttershy said as he came to a fallen tree. She flew to the top of the massive trunk, and offered Tara her roots to help her climb over.
But you don't have to be scared. You want to keep being bad. You want to stay where you are because if you move, you look back. If you look back, you'll see exactly where you were. And it isn't a nice place at all.
Tara's bat began to pick her way around the fallen tree. First I met her again as she reached the upturned roots.
You're afraid of facing what you've done, of feeling the guilt, so you cling to all your hate.
That's not why I hate you, Tara said through gritted teeth. I hate you because you talk to every pony like they're a 3-year-old just learning to speak, or a baby chick with a broken wing. I hate you because every day I see you wearing a crown. You don't even understand!
Maybe,
Fluttershy said.
Have you ever tried complimenting somebody, Tara?
Tara rolled her eyes.
You want a compliment? Fine. I like your mane. Happy? Thank you,
Fireside said.
Now I'll do you. Let me guess, Tara said. I'm beautiful? You are,
Fireside said.
but that's not a good compliment. Anybody could tell you that, and it wouldn't be special. The trick is to think of something that only you can say.
There she went, with a 3-year-old voice. Tara was going to be sick.
Tara,
Fireside said.
even if it's only hate and anger, I admire all you've been through. You still choose to feel. I think that makes you the bravest pony I ever met. You're strong.
For a moment, it was as though Tara's entire emotional spectrum had been struck by lightning. Strong. Any time she failed to resist Titan's spell, which was every time, she murdered innocence. She learned to enjoy it. She had been under or needed the spell for hundreds of years. Tara reveled in suffering. First I called her brave for it. If anything, Tara had failed. Failed first to resist Titan's irresistible spell, then failed to stop Fluttershy and her friends in Ponyville. She was weak.
You want a compliment, Fluttershy? Fine. For you I'll say this. At least you're not like my daughters. Tell me about them.
Fluttershy said as he began to walk through another clearing. A group of Timberwolves saw them from the other side, but did nothing.
Celestia has to prove herself clever at every chance she gets. She's callous at Tetris and makes everything as complicated as she can to make herself seem smarter. Her first line of defense is convulsion. Everyone who loves her does so by design, not their own free will. Now, I don't hate her for that. I hate her because she won't admit she's as bad as the rest of us. Oh,
Fluttershy said.
You know what I think? No. I think if Celestia was ever like that, she's changed. And I think the only reason we're talking about her is because you can't talk about me anymore. You're trying so hard to despise me, but it's slipping through your hooves. Please, child, you wish you were smart enough to know what made me tick. Do you have a compliment for Celestia, too?
Another flower burst, and petals fell to the ground behind Fluttershy, some sticking to her wings.
Sure, Tara said. At least she isn't Luna.
This time, Tara didn't wait for Fluttershy to pause. Started talking like she usually did.
Luna was my real apprentice. I raised her. I know her. She's done so many horrible things and no pony cares. They all just let her carry on because she's doing good now. And she seems to care least of all. She could frolic as though she's just forgotten about the villains she starved, or burned, or snowed over during the war. You can be like that too. I never said I hated her because I was jealous. But that's what you want.
Tara made a sound of disgust.
I'm going to keep going.
She stopped so Fluttershy could stop too, turning to face her in the clearing.
Because as much as I hate my daughter Luna, I will say this. At least she isn't Twilight Sparkle.
Tara looked for a reaction that didn't come. Not even a frown crossed Fluttershy's face. Instead she nodded. It shows this made perfect sense for her. Infuriated Tara even more.
I've hardly met her, and I say I despise her, and all you do is nod. She's your best friend. One of my best friends,
Fluttershy said. Her tone changed. She wasn't talking to Tara like she was a 3-year-old anymore. Good.
Whatever. She disgusts me. She complains about how God should act, even as she takes whatever she wants. Calls it right when what happens to align with her twisted morals. She moves the world around her rather than moving through it. And all the while she complains she doesn't have such a responsibility.
Fluttershy opened her mouth to speak, but Tara waved her to silence. She wasn't finished. In fact, she felt like she was just getting started. However, as much as she despised Fluttershy and Celestia and Luna paled in comparison to what she felt now, the thought of Twilight Sparkle. She clung to her hatred, and it warmed her.
She's a child playing God. All of you worship her as she's being perfect. She shrugs it off just to maintain the image of humility. If she was actually humble, she wouldn't live in the Citadel. But I guess she's too busy carrying out defending mandates and playing career to think of that.
Tara began to walk away.
Still, for Twilight I will say this, she said over her shoulder. At least she isn't Titan. You're wrong.
Fluttershy froze.
That's not why you hate Twilight. That's not it at all.
Fluttershy moved to stand beside her, then leaned in.
Do you want to talk about it? Shut up. That's not a yes or no, Tara. Shut up!
Tara shouted. Normally, she would have considered raising her voice a mark of losing control. She considered it a loss. Now she barely noticed.
You hate Twilight because the Harmony chose her, and not you.
Terra attacked. Her visible collar halted her in the air before Fluttershy sent her reeling to the ground. Head spun, and she wiped dirt from her muzzle with a hoof. Damn you! You don't know anything!
That's what Twilight says,
Fluttershy said.
Now she's the culmination of an entire line of ponies engineered to succeed her.
Twilight's a kid who got lucky, Terra spat. Harmony never even knew her. She came along at the right time and place and pushed the proper buttons. Fluttershy's voice was steady, but impassive.
But you didn't.
No, Terra said, voice almost failing her. The only thing I was supposed to do was be happy and make the world a better place. A pause.
I think your mother loved you, Terra.
Why you do this? Why torment me? Why can't you just let me live out my meaningless life and then die? She went through, shouting again. Fluttershy was trying to upset her. She was winning. But it didn't matter if Fluttershy won their daily game. She won everything else. Terra was the only pony without any magic on the face of the world. You hear that, Myken? She was nothing. She'd be dead in a century. Why would she bother fighting the only pony left to fight? I'm horrible to you, Terra said. Just take the hint and leave me alone.
There are some creatures that, when wounded, try to scratch you even as you bandage them up.
It was pathetic. Fluttershy stuck out her pity and the sense of fulfillment that came from nurturing. But would Terra rather be alone? And you don't know anything about my mother, Terra said. She looked up, at the citadel that could be seen from any point in the Everfree Forest and miles beyond.
You could tell me about her, if you like.
Harmony was a coward, Terra said. This gave Fluttershy the look of confusion that Terra expected to see earlier. She marveled at the other mare's confusion. But Fluttershy had thought all ponies. Maybe Terra still felt something for her dead mother? Ridiculous. She was weak, Terra continued, sitting. She had no idea what she was saying anymore. She'd done her best not to think about her mother for years. Terra kept Harmony out of her thoughts to spare her mother's memory, the bile she lavished on everything else that lived. She ignored Harmony because her mother was almost sacred. But that wasn't love. Harmony was a coward, Terra said. She suddenly felt cold. She knew she wasn't feeling anger. Or if she was, it was no kind of rage she ever known. She left us all alone. She died rather than face her husband. She should have thought! Her eyes began to burn, but Terra was in control. She refused to cry, even when Fluttershy sat down beside her, and drew her, unwillingly, into a soft embrace. Terra couldn't pull herself out of her hooves. Her crown would probably stop her if she didn't. She abandoned me, she whispered. She left me alone, with him. Her eyes grew wide. Shh, Fluttershy said, stroking a hoof for her mane. Terra's whole body went rigid at the touch.
It's all right. It's gone now. It's just you and me. It's all right.
Terra should have told Fluttershy to stop, because she hated them. She hated them all for what they had done, and now it would work. Who was this mortal mare to carry her through all this spite and malice? She could have told Fluttershy to stop. Fluttershy would have stopped. She didn't. There was no land more magical than Equestria. The power woven through the air, the earth, and the celestial sphere, and its threads went deep. So deep, in fact, that the casual observer could hardly imagine the world existing without it. Equestria had always been colorful, prosperous, and full of life. It would always be. Celestia picked at the threads with the care and precision of a surgeon, unwinding the intricate patterns that Titan had used to make his own world, and spinning the resulting threads into her own. It was a painstakingly slow endeavor, and she'd been working for weeks now, day in and day out, but already the world was responding to her efforts, taking the first steps towards its ultimate state. The clouds would break and flow at the wings of Pegasi. The crops would grow in abundance at the hooves of earth ponies. The animals would once again hear the voice of the Eratus. Equestria would bend to its true masters once more. She could hear the whisper of wings parting branches. As Celestia turned to see Luna gliding into the glade, it touched down on the earth beside her. Shouldn't you be ruling the world, sister? I would think they would need you now more than ever. Celestia nodded to her sister. It split her two minds so she could hold a conversation while remaining focused on work. Twilight still sends me letters and comes to visit asking for help. But for the most part, she does a good job. even if he's a poor substitute for me. This, Celestia said, referring to the magic he was working even as he spoke. This only I can do. I'm flying across the kingdom, deriving relief from the unaffected cities, Luna asked, taking a seat. Is that something only I can do? Celestia raised an eyebrow at her sister. I'm sure you've been doing it in a way no pony else could. For your sake, I think I'll deny to take that offense. Celestia smiled. For my sake, of course. I mean, you're done here? Luna asked. Will you take the reins, then? Celestia cut her head to one side. What makes you so curious? I have every reason to be curious, Luna said. Twilight is an alicorn now. She's master of the Citadel. She, not we, defeated him. How does she fit in? What's her place at Equestria? The two of you must discuss this at one point. Was all Celestia had to say at first. We have, but we haven't come to any conclusions. Twilight can rule, this we know. She's proven herself in that regard. But she can't rule as well as I can, not Equestria. I've taken care of this kingdom for over 1,000 years. Even if we give her sovereignty, common sense dictates I'll still be making most of the decisions. Still, putting her front and center could have its benefits. Oh, Celestia nodded. Right now she's a symbol. The one great gain to come out of all this. A new alicorn. I think it would do ponykind well to have their victory elevated before them. I can still keep things running from the background. An interesting course, Liz said. It's good seeing you again. I'll be fine to pick a Powerless in order to form a mason of a new windstream tomorrow. She spread her wings to take flight. Celestia watched and felt a share of discomfort. It was good seeing you again. This felt so strange between the two of them. They never needed soft words to reinforce the bond they knew existed between them, but still. Luna. Luna paused in her pre-flight pose and gave Celestia a look over her shoulder. Celestia sighed, don't think I give you enough credit, to be honest. A raised eyebrow. Oh! The more I think about it, the more I realize that you played every part you were given perfectly. Celestia said, you took Twilight's friends and hardened their hearts for war. You set them against Terra and reunited the elements. You pushed Twilight to break the barrier, to take us the power to destroy, to become the leader they needed. I think you lost every personal battle you fought, but you somehow won us the war. Luna said, turning to Celestia. As much as I love to hear your praise, Twilight is the hero of Equestria. I'm just a shadow. Celestia smiled. Twilight might be Equestria's hero, but you're mine. Luna came closer, leaning her head against Celestia's neck. A rare moment of physical contact. You saved her, Celestia whispered, or I damned her. You brought her back. She laid her head atop her sister's. Luna didn't say anything. Celestia followed suit. It wasn't a moment for words. It was hardly a moment at all. It was a brief flicker of tenderness that always seemed so fleeting to an immortal. So small, it was all that they could do to stop and savor its passing. A week after New Canterlot was deemed complete, Twilight Sparkle became a princess. But first there was a parade. No trace of the old ruin could be found on the sparkling streets of the now populated city. All of it had been taken, fused, and reshaped into spires, bridges, and domed buildings that characterized the old city. Now there were even entrances to the labyrinth. After 10 months of using it for shelter and housing, it was part of the city proper. They only had to rearrange things, so it wasn't possible to navigate. Now almost mirrored the streets above. The streets were packed with ponies to come see their new princess. Twilight saw with a tinge of nervousness. She balanced her nerves with a shake of her head. It wouldn't do for her subjects to feel fear. In truth, there was nothing for her to fear in the first place. The chariot began to move as the marching band struck on a parkle tune, all drums and bass. A cheer rose up from the streets around her, and Twilight had the feeling it wouldn't die down until she got to the palace. Hey, I can't help but notice there's somebody missing for this epilogue. Gee, Jazz, who do you think it is? Oh, I don't know. Somebody who had an important arc throughout the story. Somebody whose face was on the front cover. Nope, can't think of it, Jazz. Ah! This had not been Twilight's idea, but Celestia's. The Astonishing's parade, the coronation, the city-wide celebration afterwards, all of them just seemed so misplaced. Twilight didn't see what there was to celebrate other than an end to their labor. When so many of Ponykind's graves were dead, so many homes destroyed, what right did the living have to celebrate? Celestia saw it differently. There was, she had said, one thing Ponykind had gained from Titan's war. That was another Alicorn princess. Most ponies hadn't fought in any battles. Thus lived in poverty and fear. Let Twilight be the symbol of their deliverance. Let her ascendance be the idea they could cling for comfort. There was no dishonesty in that. Twilight could not deny her subjects that happiness. Look calm, smile, nod and wave. It's easy once you remember how much you love them. And it was. Twilight passed through a throng of ponies, probably more ponies than she had ever seen in her life, all part of a race that rose to fight the Alicorn's war. Perhaps without them they would have failed, but with them she would have fared no better. Don't look too kind. You're a war heroine. They expect to see a princess, but also the Godslayer, the general. She did her best to look determined and resolute. If that did any good, what was she supposed to do? Stare straight ahead? Waving too much made her feel like a fool, and now she wasn't sure how wide or tight her smile was supposed to be. Obviously, she couldn't stand perfectly still, but striking a pose that would make her feel ridiculous. How was parading in front of a crowd so difficult? You're doing fine, Twilight. Stop worrying. Celestia's voice contained a barest hint of humor. If I were doing fine, Twilight said dryly, you wouldn't be able to tell I'm worried! Nonsense. I can always tell when you're not all right. Twilight answered the mental equivalent of a grumble. Are you truly so worried about the impression you're making? Celestia asked. I always thought that this was the easy part of your job. It is, Celestia said. Perhaps it does take getting used to. Shall I give you a lesson to help you relax? I seem to recall being your faithful student. A flash of joy for Celestia. So you were. Now I want you to look at the crowd about half a block ahead of you. The way you see them, but always look straight ahead. Twilight looked. At that distance her eyes could make out the individual faces. All of them went with awe that looked too familiar with. She must have noticed the way her soldiers looked at her. It's the way every pony looked at Celestia since Twilight could remember. Your smile is one of confidence, not joy or love. You never used to be able to smile like that. You could see me? Of course I can, Twilight. A pause. I thought you didn't see yourself as my student anymore. I didn't. A fine way to break my Tupulus' heart. Now stand up as straight as you possibly can on your forelegs. Give your hind a little slack. You're arising, Twilight Sparkle. Let them see it. You know I'm not angry with you anymore. Twilight said as she adjusted her weight. A pause. I know, Twilight. The chariot rolled on, and the parade trailed behind her. The streets of New Canterlot were vast, even if the city wasn't as large as it had been. Even the concerted effort of Ponykind and an incredible amount of magic wasn't enough to reinforce the entire capital in 10 months. It was easy to love you because you were a god, because you were a princess, because you were perfect. But it was easy. I guess as us grown-ups we're always supposed to love each other when it's difficult, when it's needed but not deserved. I think it's better to love you this way. A finer lesson I could not have taught you myself, Celestia said. Then, you should put it in a letter. Now, raise your chin up a little more. You're joking, right? You're about to turn into the main square, Celestia said. There are more ponies here than you've ever seen in your one place in your life, Twilight. All of them are going to be looking at you. I want you to look ahead at Luna and I. True to Celestia's words, the main square was filled with what appeared to be twice the amount of ponies it had been designed to accommodate. Twilight, having designed it, would know. A thin strip of space led from Twilight to the foot of the castle grounds, where Luna and Celestia stood above everyone else, on the first of the many gradual steps that led to the castle proper. Do not be overwhelmed, Twilight. Be overwhelming. Right hoof just a little. You know, Twilight said, now more than ever, with my new responsibilities, I need you to teach me. Across the distance between them, Celestia gave a slight smile. Need, is it? Spread your wings suddenly. She did so with a great whoosh. Noted a shadow cast on the ground before her, perfectly proportioned by the assistance of the sun. Now, where have I seen that before? So I thought it's definitely allowed to reach her ears. You know, she said as he pulled her chariot to a halt, this actually feels kind of good. It ought to. Now, I'll light down the side and come down so you don't have to do a full turn when you get here. You need to be facing the crowd. Twilight did as she told, once again doing her best to look well, Regal, did she have to walk different? Take the steps differently? Should she have folded her wings when she had left the chariot? Such silly things to worry on, but they were there. And there was New Canterlot, she thought as she looked out the city. The natural slope of the mountain laid out before her eyes in full. It wasn't as big as the old city, no, but there was room to grow. Perhaps it was only made of stone and glass, perhaps it was fragile, but it had been built by their subjects in her word. Twilight couldn't help but feel a surge of pride seeing it now, just as she had every time she had seen it before. I said need, Twilight said, and it's true I'll need your help, but I want it too. I want you to teach me. I'm happy to hear it, my faithful student. Luna? Luna's voice filled Twilight's mind like liquid. First rule of immortality, Twilight Sparkle, is that you will die. All life, even ours, is limited, and this gives it value. Shall this be the way you spend yours? Yes. Then kneel, Twilight Sparkle. Supplicate yourself before them, for you are your servant. Twilight fell to the stone beneath her and shut her eyes. Wait, that's it? We're not going to say anything? Out loud, I mean? Words, Celestia said. Twilight got the distinct feeling that she rolled her eyes. I speak 51 languages. 6 of them isolates. What words are there for this? A weight fell onto her head. Heavy, but not overburdening. The cheering redoubled. Now rise, Luna said softly. A South Champion, our sister, and Equestria's princess! Twilight rose. She opened her eyes to see that they had begun to kneel. It seemed as though a wave traveled through the crowd. All of them were giving respect to their new princess. I know you'll do well, my faithful student. Twilight swallowed, but couldn't hide a smile nonetheless. She had a lot to learn. Yeah, I know what you guys want. I know what you guys are expecting. You're expecting me to do my old review style and just give you a list of what I think was good, what I think was great, but I can't. Not this time. The problem with doing a fic like this that has been faved by so many people, upvoted to limits I could never reach, is that everybody has already said their piece. People like Chris, Present Perfect, hell, a fan of mine and a friend who also does a Fallout fic has said his piece. What more do I have to add? Yeah, there are some people who are going to see it like I do, that this is one of the best pony fics in existence, that this is truly great, the characterizations are great, the storytelling's awesome, the battles are great, and there are going to be people who hate it. And to me, that's fine too. You could say, there's a lot of things you could complain about. You could see the OCs as bland, or you could say that you don't like Sora Impressive, and that's perfectly fine. For me, this fic has inspired me, and it has continued to inspire me. It is one of the big reasons why I've done Fall like I had done. It helps set the stage for me creating Fall Starfleet. To me, having a fic that gets all of you to say so much is a sign of a truly great fic. If this fic were to just make you all scream and rage, then it would have been a bad one. And if this fic were to not have left the impression on anybody, it would have been an even worse one. But no. We all have our interpretations. We all see these characters in different ways. We all have our ways of actually seeing the way the story moves. That makes it great. Yeah, there are some things that annoy me. The epilogue for one of them, not including Rainbow Dash, and there are a few other things that I don't like about the epilogue. And I would have liked the addition of Sakura and maybe even Gilda at one point. But to me, those are nothing more than small little nitpicks in terms of what is a great story. Not only number 5 on my greatest fanfics of ponyfics of all time, but very high in level of greatest fanfics I've ever read. This story has brought so much, and it's given me so much through the years that I'll always love it. And when I found out that the audio book for this got disappeared, I was determined to put it in. And after spending about a month or so having to deal with Myken, sitting through all the pain of Starfleet and having to make fun of it, dealing with one of my favorite fanfics of all time was a perfect chaser. Well, that was one down. Several more to go. It's time for a trailer. Wow, your first Princess Summit. You must be excited. I am, but a little nervous. That unicorn! She stole the crown! You have to get it back, otherwise Equestria will lose its only means of defense. An old familiar story, but with an interesting twist. What? Where am I? Hey, you! What? I challenge you to a duel! A duel? What? Shing! A disc? What? New rules. A new game. Okay, so this game is Duel Monsters, and I have to do what in order to win? You think you could beat me? I am the grand champion of Duel Monsters on this world. You want to best me? You're gonna have to play my game. Coming soon. Duelist of the Autumn Crown! It's time to do! See you then.